absolute state of things have really been pissing me off lately. It has never been more clear than ever that this country and practically the entire planet is owned by a small handful of billionaires who want to do nothing but make us their playthings, toys for their sick games. Look at Trump's inauguration. A few people worth more than $1 trillion were standing there right beside him in that room. I do literally mean that this world is a game to them, us normal people with all of our lives, our hopes, our passions, our dreams, our loves are just tools for them to get a bigger high score with, to accumulate more money and thus, in our current system, more power. But we are not tools, we're people, and we deserve to be treated like people. There are hundreds of millions of us in this country, billions around the globe, that face economic and political abuse from barbarians parading around like they own us. They may talk and act and think like they're gods, immune to the whims of the people they believe are beneath them, but they are not. We are the people, and the people have the power. Look at what Luigi did. How many people he brought together. We have forgotten our own power because of their propaganda, but we can make them bleed if 1,000,000, 100,000,000, 1,000,000,000 people come barging down the gates. There is nothing that can stop us. The world is ours, and we need to stop fighting each other, to stop letting the people at the top divide us and pit us against each other. In our system, money means freedom, and the one percenters hoard all of the freedom for themselves. I have heard people say that they like all the options and opportunities that capitalism provides, from choices of groceries to what content you can watch, to what type of car you drive, to the types of jobs that you can get. And it is true that we have an enormous amount of options for everything, from food to fashion to flying in our society. And if you're really dedicated and lucky, you can get pretty much any job in any niche that you want. You can even make your own. But the reality is that this is not capitalism. This is just socialism applied to the corporations instead of for people. And look, these policies have allowed them to flourish and completely overwhelm our society and our governments with their money and push it to do only more of what they want. Go to the grocery store and you'll have 1,000,000 options to choose from, brand of chips, frozen foods, cereal, etc. But look closely at the packaging and you can see that every single thing in that store is from like one of 5 corporations, maybe 8 if you include the shampoo and cleaners aisle too. Those 8 companies have fought tooth and nail to steal any real choices from you, to make you buy their products and make you subtly support them. And it's not just food. They have spent millions, billions of their ill-gotten gains lobbying politicians to force you to do other things their way. Last century, they undertook an enormous effort of infiltrating local governments and ripping out mass transit that was making our communities more efficient, just so that we would have to buy their cars. And I think that if you want to drive a huge gas guzzler with 900 horsepower, that's fine. If you want to drive from the Arctic to the Everglades in your Cybertruck, that's fine. Do it. I think that everyone should have that option if they want to do it. But I think you should be able to take a train too. You want to fly? You want to bus, bike, skate? You should have those options. And we don't have the option in this country. Mass transit simply does not exist because the car companies do not want it to, because they make a ton more money when everyone is driving and paying to maintain their cars instead. They take away your freedoms to pad their profits, and they will continue to do so as long as they are owned by greedy megalomaniacs on golden thrones who think the rest of us are beneath them. I don't think just splitting up corporations and quote-unquote ending capitalism is the solution to fix all of this inequality either, for the record, but I do think that the trillions of dollars stolen from us should not be spent actively making our lives worse either. A corporation is, at the end of the day, a group of people working together in a way more efficient way than if they were on their own. In a way, it's kind of its own society with its own culture and rules and government, depending on how you want to look at it. They are extremely effective ways of organizing people whose interests align and putting them towards productive goals that can make huge benefits for society, selling solutions to our ailments and striding towards success. The problem is when the people at the top decide that money is the only goal and find ways to spend as little as possible on the people and the investments that they could be making in society, and instead funnel their enormous resources into only enriching themselves, making new problems so that we are forced to buy their solutions. That isn't freedom. This is madness. But take that greed out of the equation. Say the workers who actually do all the productive work in companies were the ones owning them. Then I think that this entire trend of enshittification of our society could be reversed, at least to some degree. Look, change is scary. I get it. It hasn't come easy to me, nor does it come easy to many. But look at history. The world is scattered with the ruins of empires. Look at systems of government and what predated them. Ancient republics and democracies with limited rights, barbarian kingdoms, empires, absolute monarchies, feudalism, fascism. Everything in our world is in a constant state of flux, and nothing can stand the test of time by standing still. No matter how perfect we think we've made a system, it cannot last forever. So we need to create a system that is built to change, something that can bend for the times, for the people, not for those who would call themselves king or president. All of these systems have failed people in the past because they relied on the immutability of their power, which none have ever truly had. Change will begin in our society only when we address this epidemic of greed that now permeates everywhere and in everything. Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself. Never forget that. They will stop at nothing to hoard their power at the top. We do this, and we can finally lift everyone up and build a more just civilization for us all, where the rewards of work is reaped by those who do it. Again, looking at history, when we've come together, we've managed to do some truly amazing things. We've stopped rivers, we've gone to the moon, we've built temples and titans and glass and steel metropolises that dwarf any wonders our ancestors could have dreamed of building. Just look at this Minecraft world before me. All of this was mostly my own work, but imagine if I had 100 people on this server enacting my vision. Now imagine 1,000, 1,000,000. Imagine the structures that we could build, the networks, the society. Imagine if we did that in real life. Imagine if we took all 330 million Americans and we said, hey, this is our world and we want it to be glorious, making it as we want it to be. Freedom for all, not just the elites. Imagine if instead of spending trillions shooting civilians halfway around the world, we poured that money into architecture, into the arts, and our culture. We would be each other's patrons. With that kind of support, we could build the richest culture that the world has ever seen. All of our individual voices harmonizing together, acknowledging our differences, but still united by what we have in common. The people at the top of our society don't want this, because if we got our shit together and pushed back against them, they would have to stop playing their little games with each other. But it isn't their game or their planet. It's our game, and we want it now. This was the entire point of democracy, that people must be in charge of their own destinies, must be able to make their own choices to lead any sort of meaningful lives. We need to combine our power to outshine the interests of the parasites on the top, to build a more stable and sustainable world. The world must run off of our commitments to each other, not to some abstract shareholders whose only pursuit is profit, who will gladly put us all to the sword if it means they get a 2% growth on their stock portfolio this upcoming quarter. Money is not what makes America great. Money and the endless chase of it is undermining the entire American project. Money stops people from just doing what they want, from living their lives, from making art, from working on what they really want to be doing. And if we can't just sit back and chill, do what we want, spend time with our friends and family, then this entire thing is just fucked. Look, we can rewrite the rules of our economic system. It's happened 100,000 times in history. Even in America, there have been times when people have taken a step back and realized, oh, we need to make sweeping changes for the good of us all, not the good of a few people, and we can do that again. We can look to moments in the past, examples like Fred Hampton, who got both black nationalists and white supremacists to work together based simply on having them recognize that they were not each other's enemy. The people around you are not your enemy. The people above you are. As the movement goes forward, we need to remember that we are all tied together by the threads of our humanity, that we need to be kind to individuals and ruthless to systems. Everyone is fighting battles that we could not know. Human beings are complex and imperfect. Most people have good intentions and want to do right in the world, but I think most just don't know how to start when crushed beneath the weight of our endless nightmare systems of healthcare, government, bureaucracy, insurance, etc., that strive to keep us confused and complacent so that they can continue to squeeze us dry. But this country can be a truly beautiful place for everyone in our society to flourish. We can just find the willpower within all of us to make it so. Because the only way we get there is by working together. Thanks for listening. Keep it real. Damn, that was kind of fire.